Okay, I got 6:01. Here we go. I'd like to call this meeting to order pursuant Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 20. I hereby inform all attendees that a video and audio recording is being made of the meeting. People present: Dan Blaisdell, Peter Blum, Buck Donovan, Peg Byron, Conrad Decker. Can the audience identify themselves, please? Okay.
Jennifer Lieberman.
Yeah. Thank you. Do we have anyone on Zoom to identify? Okay. All right, thank you. First up, we have public comment. Anything, Kathy?
At the Valley Commission, well, we got over the hurdle for the ice skating. Now we're dealing with tennis and pickleball. Lenny Tisdale, Superintendent of Department of Public Works, and I checked out the courts today. They're in terrible disrepair. So right now we have decided we're going to keep it locked until we can find out how we can take care of it, because there are cracks all over, and I don't know what it's called, they bring stuff, whatever that is. Some of it's actually coming up out of the ground where somebody could trip over it, and there are cracks on every single court. So we're hoping that something can be done, and or at least some temporary step taken until the weather is good enough to do the courts.
Didn't, we do some repairs on that a few years ago?
Years ago, and it cost us $19,000.
Yeah.
And it's worse. I have never seen the courts as bad as they are right now.
Where are the courts, Kathy?
The athletic field, really athletic. So,
Is it like frost heaves?
yes, yeah. And
You think it'll settle down when the frost fully goes out?
I don't think so, because there's crack, you could actually see, it's not just a little, like a hair. type of thing.
Displacement of,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, it's sad. So we will be putting up a sign tomorrow to let people know that
Okay.
we're sorry for the inconvenience. We'll do as much as we can, and then we'll have to go to the town meeting and see what we can do for monies to get it repaired the way it needs to be repaired.
Repair or total replacement?
No,
Yeah.
Lenny's looking at something. He said there's a new material that you could put down. It's kind of like a black top. I'm not quite sure what it's all about, but it's supposed to minimize any types of cracks. And then you would put all the tennis pickleball materials on top of that. But again, as you all know, if we're going to do something like that, we need to go to the Conservation Commission and get their okay, because we're the.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So we'll see what happens. So fingers
Okay.
crossed for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Just few people that came in the room. Gordon Bailey, for the record, and I forget your name, sir. Thank you. Next up, minutes of 3/11/24.
Motion that we approve the minutes of 3/11/24.
Second,
Hearing a motion and a second, any discussion? Hearing none. Do a roll call vote. Dan?
aye.
Peter?
Aye.
Peg?
Aye.
Conrad?
Aye.
Buck Donovan? Aye. Got minutes. We have a few minutes, little bit of time till we have to open up a public hearing. We could update of, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, we could probably knock out the Form A, right? Stockbridge Road, that's a pretty easy one. Why don't you come on up? We'll take care of that. Get you guys out of here.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic.
You don't want to hear the public hearing.
Do you have all the paperwork? I think this office fence here, but. Or the form.
Yeah.
Form As. And then the
The Mylar.
Um,
Everybody know what's going on here?
No.
Okay, could you explain it, please?
so, the town owns all this land all over here off of Stockbridge Road. And the town has, is selling this 1.2 acres to, Jeffrey Faveau, to fit around his barn. All the setbacks around the barn are within the bylaws. And this is, this listed as not a building lot, so it's gonna be combined with Jeff's land that he has here.
This was all done at town meeting
Right.
last time.
Really straightforward.
Yeah,
I think so.
I do too.
No extra building lot being created, right? You
No.
said that?
No. No, this is gonna be combined with the lot he has. It's, partially to be conveyed and combined with adjacent land. So this 1.2 acres is gonna be added on to his, but there's not. So this, this property line will actually disappear, and then this will be his new property line now.
Right, right.
It does affect the frontage on Stockbridge Road for the remaining land for the town.
No, because they own frontage here and then down and around they own also. It's a very large parcel. It's 170 acres remaining
Wow,
of the 1.2 they're giving away.
Yes, sir.
great.
I'll move endorsement of the Form A.
Date,
Yep, date.
and who's.
I can read it easier.
Yeah.
The date is March 4th, 2024. And it's submitted by Foresight Land Services as to parcel on Stockbridge Road.
Right. Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. To endorse, Dan?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
Peg?
Hi,
Conrad? Buck Donovan, aye. Okay, let's get signing. Oh, you got one. Here, wow.
So do you need the large copies also?
25th, isn't it?
we, sign the rest of it. Thank you.
Dan, why don't you start those down there and
Okay.
start sending them down?
Well, whatever. Usually don't.
We can approve it in 2 minutes.
There you
It
go.
takes us 5 minutes to sign.
Pretty much, yes, exactly.
I know. So we don't-
Four.
Sorry.
Must be a fifth one there.
Yeah, I don't think we need that one. really.
Oh, all right, okay.
Never mind.
We just need four.
We're signing it.
Yeah.
What's that?
We're signing it when it won't hurt.
Okay, there's one here that's not signed.
There you go.
I'll take that back if you don't need it.
The mile, okay, yep.
If you don't,
Bottom one, think about it.
well, I think
He gets the Mylar.
I get the mile out too.
Yeah.
Those belly buttons.
We get all those.
Yeah.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. What do we got? 6:12. Peg, how about, update on CPA?
Sure, in the pack here. There was a meeting on the 20th of March. And, first of all, they approved all the things that were on it. And you have here, as you can see, what it's for. And Dan was nice to run off all those things for us a while ago, and we read about them if we were so desired to. And you can see, and they did vote. Everyone voted in favor of everything on the CPA that the CPA had found, and had great presentations of. As you remember, and it was very, very nice. So this is what the and it's going to be, I did learn that probably is not going to be a town meeting this year. But not a town meeting, a baby town meeting. And because, there'll be a town meeting, and that's usually the way, from what I had heard, other places do it as well. So there is no baby town. That's what I learned that evening as well. So, just so people know
So
yeah.
we're not doing the one prior this year?
There's nothing, there's nothing scheduled at the moment.
Okay,
So,
I think it's a great idea, but one person will say.
so these, the statistics are there, the estimated revenue is there. The money that is left is there, because they want you not to spend all the money in one year. They want you to keep so much of it for next year or different things that
that's
come
what the
along.
278 is,
Yes.
undesignated.
Mm-hmm. So, that's it. That was the meeting, and everybody was, they did a great job, though, if I could just say, for the first year, and not having this before. It's uncharted territory in many ways. When you have something new, it's never the same, and, so it was great. The people worked very hard on it, so.
Hmm.
I don't know.
That's a good question.
Sure.
Peg, what, 50,000 for construct. I'm really glad to see that the committee voted some money for housing. What is going to happen with that 50,000?
I'm not sure, Peter. I mean, I could try to find out.
No, that's all
For
right.
it, but,
If you don't know, so,
And next year, I think that I saw in your master plan how you'd like to have a group to,
housing.
yeah, yeah.
Housing project, yeah.
So,
Okay, and another one is, I'm glad to see there's money for the bike path.
oh, yes, definitely.
And 30,000, but it says it's for design matching. So we're not at the point yet of even approaching construction. We're still doing design, like after how many years? We're still
I
designing.
know. Well, remember at the beginning of this year, we went over something with
Yeah.
them, and
it
they
was-
said it would be like maybe 10 years or something. I don't.
Oh, it's always 10 years.
Yeah, and it's, so many, I guess,
Well, I
well, they
thought,
do it a certain way. That's all I can say, and I'm not really totally
I
familiar.
thought that there was some debate about whether we had or had not fully complied with all the requirements that were imposed by some state agency. And I thought it came out favorable that we had. Is that wrong? My impression is wrong.
Well, there are many agencies or many places, I think, that do come out and then I think they look at it and see their view or whatever.
I'll ask some other people about it. I'm just
Sure.
curious to pursue it a little further. Thank you, Peg.
Yeah. And, let's see, yes, Elite Community Gardens, Historical Society. All these things are quite interesting, though, when you read about them, that Dan was so kind to do this for us. Put them on, and if you read about them, you do find it very interesting, all of them, and a lot of people, it'll
I
be.
thought the state matching funds were higher than that, only
The
32,000.
state matching funds were supposed to be much higher.
What happened? Anybody know?
Well, I guess they didn't get as much as
mean-
they thought. I mean, the whole state, not
Sends
just
up.
us. Yeah, I know, because we
Seems like
were
another tax to us.
very,
with a
very excited about it, but Stuart, whatever his name is, maybe somebody in the audience knows, sent emails saying they would not be anywhere near as high as they once were.
Okay.
So, yeah, it is too bad, because I mean,
I thought there was almost 1-to-1 at some point.
well, it used to be 80-20
Right.
or something,
Yeah.
or it was much higher than what it is now.
Matching.
Matching, yeah,
Matching, yeah,
and that went away. Too many towns got involved, probably.
yes, that's probably it, or who knows, I mean.
A shortage at the state.
I think there is a budget shortage, in the state of Massachusetts right now, so,
Most, I mean,
and they took, I believe, this CPA got the budget shortage more than maybe other places, I don't know. So,
okay.
yeah,
Thank-
Gordon, or I'm sorry,
Yeah, Gordon, do you have something on it?
Oh,
Oh, sorry,
what?
Conrad.
No, I'm just curious. Total projects committed this year is at 286,
yes,
and then there's still $278,000
Yes.
in reserve
yes,
after this is committed.
correct.
All right.
So that's a good, I mean, that's good too, because next year there'll be other things that'll be coming up, I'm sure. And the housing, I know, is a big thing for everyone in the state, so.
Gordon, you have
Mr. Chairman, yeah,
more insight?
as far as the bike path goes, I know it's on the tip right now. I'm the MPO representative for Southeast. We have a meeting tomorrow. I'll double check on it. I know that 2 months ago, I looked at it and it said that we're missing something. So I asked that question, what is it we're missing? Because I thought we had everything. There was a little bit of design work, but it's been held up for over 15 years because of a right-of-way issue where one of the landowners wouldn't issue any kind of right-of-way across the property. So that finally got settled. And I will be more than happy to report back to the planning board on what happens tomorrow and what the status of that is. Because it was up for funding, I think, in 2025.
That's what I remember. Yeah.
And so. It's really soon. So anyway, we'll see if there's any, I'll report to the board no matter what happens tomorrow, but. I also have jury duty. If I get put on a jury, I may miss the MPO meeting, but we'll see if I get impaneled or not. I don't know. So if I'm not, though, I'll come to the MPO meeting at 4 o'clock for sure he's on plan. I'll get back to you folks.
Okay,
Just wanted you to know that it's in the mix.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go right in.
Great.
All set, Peg?
Yes, I am.
Okay,
Thank
all right,
you.
we'll go right into our public hearing of the marijuana bylaw. I'd like to open up that public hearing at this point. And
Want me to give a brief on what I drafted, Mr. Chairman?
I will, yes, please.
Okay, so I started with two ideas in mind. One was the bylaw itself, which I had the text of, and I also had a draft proposal from Selectman Gordon Bailey, who just spoke to us. And I tried to do as little violence as possible to his proposal, but I did try to simplify it a little bit in several ways. So why don't you look on page 2 to begin the discussion? And you can see in subsection C1 that I've deleted the words as defined in a section because they're unnecessary. I've added the words except for marijuana retailers to avoid a conflict with section 2 below.
Mhm.
And then I've changed, for some reason, when this was drafted, the draftsman used the term zone district. And then he further elaborated as saying, as shown in the zoning map pursuant to MGL section 40A, chapter 40A, section 4. I thought probably, since this is text in the zoning bylaw, that either zone or district would probably be enough without any of the rest. So in the hopes of simplifying it a little bit, making it a little bit more readable, I suggested retaining the word district. And the same change in 2. And the same change in 3. And
Or,
yeah, and 4, I didn't go quite as far, I guess. As I forgot to take out as shown on the zoning map, but I did take out the pursuant to part. I can fix that if anybody cares. And the substantive change, the first substantive change here is in 4, and it says outdoor cultivation is prohibited in all districts. That was in Gordon's proposal, but in a different location. I just thought that the most logical place to say this is under the category that describes marijuana cultivation facilities and their restrictions. So that's why I suggest locating it there. On to the next page, subsection D is a description of the number of allowed MEs or marijuana enterprises, I think it means establishments. Establishments. And subdivision 1 was a great mystery to me. It is currently drafted. The number that is allowed is 20% of the number of liquor licenses of a certain type.
that's required by the state that we cannot go below that.
Okay,
So we probably need to keep that in there.
yeah,
Two-
except that
two
you
or-
can't, by reading it, you can't tell how many you get. Because you don't say how many licenses there are, how many liquor licenses there are.
Well,
So
it
it's
can,
incomplete.
it can vary.
Mr. Chairman, if I could address
Yep.
that issue, that particular point. According to the state liquor laws, the number of package stores, you can go buy and take away, are set by the population base of the town. So if the population base were to increase or twofold, then people would be allowed to ask for more liquor store licenses, in which case it would impact perhaps one more marijuana retailer.
And then we would be out of compliance if we had
And-
two.
and so you almost have to leave it as a percentage.
Okay, okay.
So I think that would be more accurate to be able to calculate in the future without having to rewrite our bylaw.
All right, I'll leave it
If
alone.
that makes sense.
I'll leave it alone, Gordon, but the problem was that you can't really tell what the number is by reading the
Exactly.
text.
You'd have to call the board, the select board, and find out how many liquor licenses are allowed. In fact, we actually have, because we had liquor stores with licenses prior to when that law went into effect. We actually have one more than we would be allowed should we have not had them pre-existing. So we actually have one more, and that was all calculated.
Did that-
We still ended up with 2. No, we still ended up would have 2
Okay.
either way. So it didn't at that point impact,
Okay.
but it's all based on our population base.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gordon.
So Peter, how you adjust this? You leave the 20%
I'll
in?
just leave it alone. Just take out the changes and leave the original language alone.
Are we striking the word two?
Well, we're not adding the word to. I mean, I propose to add the word to. I now withdraw that proposal.
Oh, all right. So it shall not exceed 20%.
Yeah, it's the best we can have, I guess. The best we can say is just go look it up if you want to know the number. Go look up another number first.
Mhm.
And paragraph 2 says the number of marijuana cultivators shall not exceed 1, which is our current number, I believe, and that was, I believe, in Gordon's proposal also. That was really the major provision of Gordon's proposal. And so the total number 3 is a total number of non-retail and non-cultivator MEs. I'm adding the words and non-cultivator. So that if we had a total of 14 of all things included, if we exclude the group that has 2 members and we exclude the group that has 1 member, we're left with a set that has 11, not to exceed 11 members. And that's why I changed 14 to 11. I think that's clearer. But you can leave it the way it is if you prefer it to leave it the way it is. And subdivision 3, old subdivision 3, why did I delete that? Oh, this is a provision that says if some of the package stores close, that the number of MEs doesn't be reduced. I probably should retain that. What do you think?
I think so.
Yeah,
Do we want to discuss any of these or just go?
it's up to you.
Well,
I can stop.
I
I've
mean,
covered a lot of.
Let's stop at 2 with D2. 1
Yeah.
cultivator.
So what's the reasoning behind that?
I know the reasoning. I mean,
Yeah.
we all know the reasoning. It does, it's a business. This pretty much eliminates any competition ever coming into town in that business, despite what they have for environmental controls.
You know, I have mixed feelings about this because, I don't know, I'm sure everybody on the board will have a different idea, but my idea is that the assumption here is that marijuana cultivators cannot be made
It looks that way.
non-nuisances.
It looks that way. Yeah.
And therefore, the only course open to us is to restrict their number. And I have later on in this proposal, I have some suggestions for enhanced enforcement and clarification of the bylaw with regard to what's a violation, which might be an alternative to this proposal. If we could get effective enforcement of odor control, we might not need to reduce the number to 1.
But even that could be problematic. Because then,
Effective enforcement.
well, yes, because we try to enforce, they'll probably go against us.
Mhm.
They'll appeal it. And I mean, well, I'm kind of wondering if this will fly with the AG anyway, the one, limiting the 1. But we'll see. Is everybody, I mean, what do you guys think? We gonna go with it?
I'm okay with it.
We all good with it? Peg? All right,
I'd like to wait until we discuss the
Okay.
enforcement stuff before I weigh in.
all right. And then I 14 to 11, I don't think that's a bad number for
It's really.
for non-retails, no substance, no.
Um,
Okay,
All right, the
Moving
next
on.
thing, and it's a big thing, is the enforcement section. It may be kind of things in the middle here. Oh, yeah.
You're on E5.
What's that?
E5, you made a change.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Connor. Yeah, so that's reflecting the prohibition on outdoor cultivation,
Right.
which, if this were not changed, would be conflicting with the other part that says you can't do outdoor cultivation.
So this is a correct strike.
It's a correct strike, right?
Yep.
We all agreement with that or?
I am, yeah.
Okay, on to 7. 7 was a kind of a confusing section to me because in the middle of it, it says, in the event that any odors, debris, dust, fluids, or other substances exit an ME, the owner of the subject premises and the licensee shall be jointly and severally liable for such conditions and shall be responsible for immediate full cleanup and correction of such condition. I don't know what that means as a matter of law. I don't know how that would happen. I mean, we can declare these things in our, regal robes, but for this to actually take effect, somebody has to bring some sort of a enforcement action or a prosecution or a civil suit that makes the owner and the operator, the licensee, liable in some real legal sense for the harm that their operation is causing.
We're not talking about a town, we're talking about an aggrieved citizen.
Well, it's not clear who the plaintiff it's not clear that there would be a civil suit. If there is a civil suit, whether it will be brought by the town or by a neighbor. The common law allows for nuisance suits by neighbors. And it has for hundreds of years allowed for nuisance suits when one neighbor's use of his or her property unreasonably infringes upon the quiet enjoyment of the neighbor's property. But it's a long and expensive process and with an uncertain outcome. And a lot of our bylaw, our zoning bylaw is the purpose seems to be to have the town step in on behalf of those aggrieved neighbors and bring town actions in the name of the town to end the kind of nuisances that could also be brought by civil suits. But I couldn't figure out what this actually means in terms of, is it really enforceable or is it just a wish? And it seemed like the way it was phrased to me was just a wish. And so I think if we change it to say they shall be jointly and severally liable for violations of this bylaw, what that means is that the bylaw violation, if established, has penalties that are set in other provisions of the bylaw. And this would add to the fact that the owner, who would normally be liable for those penalties, would be jointly and severally liable with the licensee. So if you have an owner and a licensee, separate people, and there's $1,000 penalty levied for a zoning violation, either of them could be required to pay the $1,000. And that would be the effect of the sentence as amended. As it's stated right now, I think it's actually positively harmful because it gives an idea that there's some enforcement power that I can't really imagine what it actually is. It doesn't give, so far as I can see, it doesn't give the town the right to bring a lawsuit as sort of what the lawyers call parens patriae, the father of the individual neighbor on behalf of an individual neighbor. That could be written so that we could try that, but it's not what this says. And so I don't really know what this says as it's written in current bylaw. Let's take a moment to discuss that.
Yep, do we want to, or we have a couple enforcement people in here. What do you guys think?
He doesn't want to talk at all anyway.
That's true.
First, I just want to clarify, I was never involved in the writing of this bylaw originally.
Why do you
Put that
always do,
aside.
Me too.
come on, Father Time, you did the original ones. So now anything
I was just
after
a
that?
rep. I was a rep at the time and I just
Yeah.
had to sign it. I don't think that it's harmful to put in what number one was suggested. However, know that earlier under the enforcement section, it says that any violation of the zoning bylaw is enforced by the zoning enforcement officer, who in this case is our building official. So whether you want to repeat it here to underscore it, but I don't know, the fact that it's already listed that way under enforcement, I don't know if that matters.
No,
I
Gordon,
would leave that to the attorney.
the only thing this would add is that it could potentially increase the number of liable parties for for a violation judgment.
Most all zoning can automatically go against an owner of the property. Automatically.
Not necessarily a licensee.
I understand, and that would have to go before the licensing board, which would be the select board. For any kind of violation, so it's almost a two-pronged issue. But if you want to consolidate that into that statement, would it then not allow the licensee to be brought before the licensing board?
Uh,
I just want to make sure we aren't
Yeah,
losing that
yeah.
possibility.
Let me think about that for a minute.
Yeah, that's all I have to say.
Yeah.
And I'm not.
No, I'm
opposed
not
to that.
I'm not intending to reduce the licensing authority's
Right.
authority.
Right.
But I am trying to give some meaning to this
Understood.
statement about it, about liability.
I don't think it would. I think you'd still be able to enforce on this. This is meaning you're able to enforce on both parties. Is how I see it.
Right, if there's a
Yeah.
judgment or an order
Yep.
of penalty,
Goes against
Whatever it is.
licensee and owner.
and on, right?
So
Instead of just the owner.
Again, I don't have a dog in that, but whatever, the board feels is best for our town. I'm fine with that. At that moment in time, I don't know if our zoning enforcement officer has a different point of view, but that's my thoughts.
Okay, and then in 9, oh, Matthew, you want to say more?
All I wanted to add to that is. That, basically, I just wanted something clear and concise, you know what I mean? I think I've stated in the past that I don't want to get an argument I can't win, so. If it's something that is in there, it's forceful, both by the AG's. Then, yeah, I'm all about it, but. That's the big, I think the big thing is, it becomes a real waste of resources to try to enforce something that we can't, that ultimately we can.
Right.
So I mean,
I think that's the only thing.
do you guys think this section is sufficient to enforce on odors, or should it mirror in our other bylaws, toxic and noxious matters, odors?
Personally, I feel you keep a common, definition throughout.
And that would be where the issue, the defense they would have, isn't it? This,
And if you call this out differently, I think you call out marijuana establishments.
I'm not understanding what,
so here's what we have in our standard bylaw for odors. This language.
oh yeah, I've got that at the end. We haven't got to that part.
Oh,
That's the
okay.
last page.
That might be okay.
Let's bring it back when we get to that last page. So I think that's it for that page. Oh no, wait a minute.
9,
9, any violation of this bylaw by an ME shall be corrected. Will doesn't really do anything, but shall provides an obligation. Will be corrected, shall be corrected within 30 days, and if not corrected within the required time. And the current bylaw says all operations of the ME shall be suspended until the violation is corrected. And I couldn't for the life of me figure out how we would ensure that happens. Unless the operator is willing to just suspend operations because the bylaw told them to. But I don't know that we could issue an order to suspend operations.
well, it's a cease and
Maybe I'm
desist.
wrong.
Wouldn't that be a cease and desist? To end operations?
Yeah,
Okay, so this could be effective then as currently stated in the bylaw? All operations of the ME shall be suspended until the violation is corrected.
If not,
Right, right. Does an appeal get a stay automatically? So what I suggested instead was, maybe this is not a good idea, but that there are 2 ways to enforce zoning right now. One is an administrative way and one is a judicial way. And the judicial way is to go to a court and file, I don't know, what do you file, an information or a complaint or Anyway, there's a non-criminal complaint.
There's actually a third way, which is you can file criminally, but you have to wait 30 days after notice.
Okay, okay. So what I'm suggesting here was on the assumption that I made that statement that the ME shall cease operations had no effect, no legal effect on the operator, which we now agree may be wrong. I suggested directing the enforcement officer to initiate a proceeding using the judicial method, which I think was the slightly bigger canon of the two I had in mind. So I'd welcome comment on that too, as to whether that's a step in the right direction. But I do feel that, I feel like it would be good to sort of up our game a little bit in zoning enforcement, and I'm looking for ways to do that. Before I ask for your comment in detail on that, let's go to the last page, which is another substantive change. We were talking a minute ago about the definition of toxic or noxious matter, and Chris Britton mentioned this to us when he came at the earlier hearing and correctly read to us that there's a pretty narrow definition of what is toxic or noxious. And what I've done here is suggested a second approach to be added to the existing language. So as I've redrafted it here, paragraph 1 is a restatement of the existing standard, which is inherently harmful to destroy life or impair health or capable of causing injury, the well-being of persons, or damage to property. So apparently it's the belief of some people in the town that a very strong odor of marijuana does not certainly meet this standard, and that therefore undertaking enforcement against a strong odor of marijuana would be legally risky. That's what I interpreted from what I've heard so far. So what I'm suggesting is something, adding a second definition of prohibited toxic or noxious matter or odors, which is more similar to the nuisance definition the definition of nuisance that's applied by what I believe is the common law. And that is that the marijuana enterprise would be releasing odors that in strength and frequency are sufficient to interfere with quiet enjoyment or the valuation of one or more neighboring properties. So here we would have the town stepping in, sort of big brother for neighbor whose property is being harmed by a nuisance created by an ME. And whether the town should do this or not on behalf of its residents is, I think, a fair question. But if you think that the town needs a new way of solving the problem of odor on Route 102, this might be a way to solve that.
Are you guys seeing this?
I see it, sir.
What do you think? I think it,
Really, yes, I read them. I don't have a problem with adding a line. We can see the town already can sue for nuisances, the town reports to the select board of the town by law. That's one of the things we can do.
For private nuisance?
It's possible, if this would probably be, it would have to be more than one property that's being affected. But yes, I think that that's a possibility. I don't think it's harmful to put it in there. Again, I went about this not just thinking about the Route 102 property. I was thinking about it overall in anybody's neighborhood. That's what got me started.
that's,
That just yesterday, when I was in the grocery store, I got probably approached by somebody, never talked to them before about this issue. Lives up on Highfield Drive, and they asked if it was ever gonna be fixed. If they say people drive into their yard and get out and go, what the heck is that awful smell? And, you know, they're
And you,
further,
the
much
smell
further
is,
away from us.
the smell is the marijuana facility?
Yes, it absolutely is, yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so I don't think it's harmful. It may be that, if it passes musters with the AG's office and municipal division, that we would at least have one more quiver in your arrow, you know, in your arrow quiver, even if it's never used. So anything that gives the town an option for enforcement, I think is probably good. And maybe what you should do is go to the regular environmental standards, not just for marijuana, but just environmental standards in general, and add it there too.
That's where
Is
this
that where
one
you want-
is.
Okay, yeah.
That's where this
that's
one
fine.
is.
Yeah, because I don't think it should just be. in-
No.
No, I think if we did just marijuana, we'd be
That would be
subject
a
to.
problem.
Yeah.
I agree with you, and that's why I thought that
Yeah.
it was, and I didn't remember that you put it in the general standards, but
Yeah, this one he's talking about now is
Yep.
in the general
that's,
standard.
I think that's great.
Now,
How can you go wrong other than
Well-
if it's, gets struck down? As being
If
arbitrary,
it's,
sorry, Mr. Chair.
if it's a less, I don't know. Well, agriculture is totally exempt from any of this.
Yeah,
So
this-
That's correct.
Can't affect our
safe there. I'm just thinking if there's, this puts it on, one person could lodge a complaint.
Yeah, yeah, well, they could
So-
also lodge a complaint on any new business that comes into Columbia
That's
or
true.
Graylock or any of the other mills.
Do you think this gives you enough enforcement, Heath?
You would have to speak with the enforcement officer and not me. Thank you.
Hello, enforcement officer? Boy, he just, he's slid
Why did he-
that right across
Why
to
did
you,
he
didn't
come
he?
tonight? He's.
That's exactly.
Did you see, this is the general
I
section?
get to read what was proposed now.
It puts a little bit more teeth in the general
In the odor section.
odor section, in general standards, right?
I think it does.
Okay. I know we were told by Chris that that was kind of a problem. Because if we went and tried to do the enforcement according to the marijuana standard. You go to this standard and
Right.
they were singling out the marijuana growers. So now we're now we're,
Right.
And that was,
Got 'em
that
all.
was that was my impetus for saying, I
Yeah.
think your definition should be across the board, because if it's across the board. it should-
yeah.
So Matt, let me just, if you don't mind me discussing this a little more detail. Imagine how this would work. This is a lot of work for you if this passes. Because you would have to show that, let's say, the odor from property X is reducing the value or the enjoyment of a neighbor's property, or ideally a bunch of neighbors.
Right.
So you would have to, you went to court with the judicial non-criminal enforcement, you'd have to bring witnesses. Neighbors who would testify that, you know, it's horrible, it's awful, it ruins my sleep. My real estate broker told me my house is worth less. It'd be a lot of work to produce that evidence. If you just did an enforcement action, you would need something in your records of that sort
Right,
to protect yourself from an appeal.
to that point, an enforcement letter just requires me to have something already. Additionally, I have to.
Right.
I have to.
Think we'd be better off going that route.
Plus, the
With
other.
just the
other thing,
enforcement.
we were talking a moment ago, the other thing too is enforcement that can be brought before the select board as well, you know, the establishment in question that receives that letter can always, because it's spelled. And particular case can also be brought to this.
Yeah, so are you saying you just assume not have this added to the bylaw, or you don't have it?
I don't, either way, I mean, honestly, if it's how the town wants to go, I don't have a problem with it. It's, from my perspective, it's. You know, right now, it'd be a problem because I have 3 people where I should have. It's, but. You know, once we're fully staffed, it shouldn't be as, you know what I mean? It should be something that we can.
Are you talking about the odor language, or are you talking about section 9?
I was asking about the odor language, but
Right.
I mean, I welcome his comments on any of this, really.
And honestly, I think the only follow-up to that is, you know, I guess I would ask this almost as a favor, but helping to come up with a process for that, right? As you stated before, having, you know, different people, you know, having neighbors either give us letters or something along the line to trigger the enforcement. You know, there should be some way of coming up with a process for something like this.
Would the kind of process you're imagining be like, say, upon receiving 3 complaint letters or something like that? Is that what you
It
mean
could
by?
be, yeah, or it could be, you know, we get the 1 complaint, we follow up, but I've been thinking about ways of trying to come up, you know, overall with a way to deal with complaints in a more formal fashion anyway. I mean, right now it's very loose, you know what I mean? So I kind of wanted to come up with a way to say, okay, well, here's the complaint.
So what kind of process would you like if we left this language in paragraph 9 about initiating a non-criminal complaint? What process would you imagine us adding that would help you?
I want to come up with a form.
I would just recommend you be very careful and not go to a process, leave that to the departmental policy in use.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Handcuffing thing, but
Yeah.
departmental policy for each town, Stockbridge, since he represented.
Yeah, I don't,
you know,
that's where
I
I
think it
was
should be
thinking.
different in each town based on its own, I hate to see it get handcuffed
Yeah.
into something, and by the way, just as a point of order, you're late on a scheduled hearing, I don't know if you want to postpone this to your hearing and then go back to this, but there was a 6:45. I'm just.
As long as-
Carry, you do what you wish.
As long as everybody's.
I will say that.
That's the AD.
I'm very close or something, but that is what I was thinking is a policy, not something from this board per se, but something.
I think we're close on this.
Okay.
Let's finish it up.
Matt, one more thing, as to the idea of, if we're going to have a 9 that says you shall bring a non-criminal enforcement. Do you want to have, would you feel better if there was more, some indicator that it's a widespread problem, not just one person's problem, like 3 complaints maybe, or.
With odor, you know, what I mean, if you have a situation with odor, you know, one person could find, you know, I always bring up the example of common, right? Like, I actually like the smell of common odor, it reminds me of my childhood. Some people do not have. So, but if you have multiple neighbors saying, hey, this really is. That's it, you know.
Right. So I think, I'm with you on Calmanor. It reminds me of my childhood. But anyway, just so that the farmers don't get all alarmed. We're not even close to saying anything about agriculture.
We just
so-
used, correct.
Okay. So I think, I don't know, I think I just talked myself into saying that this, if we go with this paragraph 9 to get all, I think I'd like to constrain it by saying that there's some indicator that it's a general neighborhood problem, not just one person, but it sounds like maybe the board doesn't even want to have that section at all, so I'll just.
Yeah, I would rather it stay with a violation, and I think after the violation, it would escalate to this, wouldn't it?
That's an administrative question that I can't answer.
Would it, if you issue a violation and they blow right through it, doesn't it then go into a non-criminal complaint? If they violate an order?
I would have fines, but. Yeah, they can appeal the fines, it does.
You issue the fine administratively. And then if they want, they can initiate their own judicial review of that administrative action.
Appeal that.
Yeah, and that stays the fine automatically, yeah. And then we have to have counsel go to court to represent.
So
the
you,
town.
then we'd be
Oh,
here.
Or you, do you do it?
I go, yeah.
Okay,
We have,
okay. So
so what are we gonna do with it? We're gonna leave it in there? Leave
Which part?
9. I think 9 is where we're,
So one option would be to just leave 9 and just the way it is, no changes, reject all of my proposals. That's fine. I think if we take my proposal, I would like to add this idea about at least 3 complainants.
Yes, sir.
I was just warning you about putting numbers on anything. That would be the zoning enforcement officers. Requirement to go out and find out how many people, I just hesitate that you put any.
because he's gonna have to bring it to court.
No, I was thinking 3 formal complaints.
Yeah, but still, I just worry, even with one form of, he can still do his investigation and find out.
Okay,
I just hesitate to have the board start handcuffing to any number.
it's not a handcuff. It's a pre-qualification to a new duty that he doesn't have today.
I guess I would just say,
Makes it do-
tread gently
Yeah.
on any kind of a number.
Okay. Why don't we just leave it as the way it is then in the Bible? And
All right.
I don't see anybody else jumping in.
No, I think with cleaning up the odor definition. And if we get to enforcement and they appeal. And we keep having problems with that, then we'll. Go
And on the last page, should that be as judged by a person or person? So it could be 1 individual, it could be 3 individual.
This is gonna sound very old fashioned. The common law has frequent reference to the judgment of a reasonable man.
Hmm.
And they didn't, in the old days, they didn't talk about the reasonable woman, but it wasn't a reasonable jury or a reasonable group of people meeting somewhere. It was just, there's this hypothetical reasonable person
Singular.
who would reach a judgment either up or down on a question.
Okay.
So I think person is okay, Conrad. Thank you.
Um. Do
So are
we,
you okay with the last page?
yeah. Do we have? When is town meeting?
First Thursday, you know.
So if we finalize this on the 8th of April,
Well, we're gonna finalize the warrant. Well, we have to sign the warrant 5 days ahead of time, but we're gonna review the warrant.
when,
At our next meeting, which is the first Tuesday and. So. If you just give us a heads up, we can still place a holder on it, but at some point we need to post the warrant.
That
So,
is the
as
second,
long as we, what's that?
that's the 2nd of April, is the first Tuesday in April.
Okay, yeah, that's when our meeting is. And, so if you're gonna meet after that, we just have to post our warrant. At least 5 days before the May meeting.
I just,
We can have a placeholder, that's what we have to do, is that you have to have a placeholder and then give us the exact language.
that's what I'm worried about. I don't wanna send you without us having another meeting. Look at the language.
So you gotta make a decision then though.
Yeah,
We need it sent to us. for
Okay.
an exact language.
okay.
Do you want just 2 more weeks to think about it, or do you want me to make a motion? Let's see what changes we've agreed to and pass that motion tonight or
We can
table
do
it
that.
tonight, or table it tonight.
If it doesn't get lost in translation.
I'll try it. I'll give it a
Okay.
try. Okay,
All right.
I move that the board report favorably an amended version of draft 1 of the marijuana bylaw and noxious odors bylaw as of draft 1 as of March 16th, but with the following changes. On page 3 in subdivision D, in D1 to make no changes and to retain the original language. In D, there's a new D3 and the old D3, which would now be D4, should be retained and not struck. So that's the second change. And the third change is to reject any change to subdivision E9 and leave E9 as is in the bylaw. Oh, okay. And Dan has pointed out to me several cases where my eagle eye failed to operate at eagle level, and we have several places where zoning district, zone districts. Oh, I'm sorry. No, Dan, that's,
You're changing districts up here, districts up here, districts.
yeah, that's all,
Yeah,
that's all
that's
per the
all-
text.
that's all
Okay,
stay-
it doesn't
that's all
require an
stay.
amendment. Okay,
Yeah.
so just the three changes that I've described as my
Okay.
motion.
On the last page,
And the last page, I am not proposing any change from the printed text.
right, so 1 and 2, the or, the way this is reads is staying just the way it is.
Just as printed.
It is printed. We
Yeah,
are.
the motion is for the board to report favorably the bylaw as printed with only those three changes, but no change to section 2.
Gotcha. No,
We have a motion. Is there a second?
second,
Second, any further discussion?
You want to table it and consider it?
No, I think we can, let's send it on. Dan?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
Peg?
Hi.
Conrad?
aye.
Buck Donovan? Aye. There you go. You'll have it for your meeting.
Thanks, Gordon, for your
Thank
work
you.
on this.
Your initiation and follow through. Good. Okay. I know we will be sending that to the select board, closing this public hearing and opening up our second one.
And I'll produce a draft.
Yes. And this is a discussion on ADU bylaws. At this time, I will be recusing myself as chair, and Peter will take over as chair.
All right, so this is a public hearing on
Wait a minute. You all right?
a change to recently adopted
Yes.
ADU bylaw. And do we know if we've been approved by the AG on this one? We were approved on the other one, but I don't know if I remember whether we were approved.
Is that what that letter was?
The letter was STR review, but I don't know, I don't think that they got the other one. Brooke, do you know?
No.
Okay, so let's assume that the ADU bylaw either has been approved by the AG or is about to be approved by the AG. And as I've explained to some of you, we had a change in the definition of ADU halfway through our consideration that broadened it to include both detached ADUs, which is what we started with, plus attached ADUs in the building, which I think of as more like mother-in-law apartments. And
Real quick, the AG approved Articles 7, 8, and 9 adopted December 6, 2023 special.
okay, so we are approved. Good to know. Thank you, Brooke. So when we expanded the definition to include attached ADUs, in my opinion, we didn't fully understand the other part of the bylaw that prohibits the use of ADUs for short-term rentals. And the language that we adopted, and there was some discussion about this at town meeting. There was an amendment that came close but failed. And, but the language that we proposed was adopted, and it says no ADU shall be offered or utilized for short-term rental. And my discomfort with that is that I don't think I ever intended to apply that restriction to an attached ADU, in other words, to a mother-in-law apartment. The fact that we have attached ADUs at all in this bylaw is a result of a technical restriction on two-family housing that had to do with setbacks and yard size. And so it's possible that somebody who wants a mother-in-law apartment in their large old Victorian building would fail to meet the yard and setback requirements and have to come for a special permit as an ADU, an attached ADU. And if they did that, I personally don't think that we should prohibit them from renting it any way they choose. But we are prohibiting that rental right now. And so I'm proposing a change that allows that use of an attached ADU as a short-term rental in it when it's part of the main building. But where it's not, where it's in a separate building, there was a separate issue raised at our last town meeting about, well, what happens if somebody moves to the back, the ADU out back, and offers the main house for a short-term rental? And we are not prohibiting that in our current bylaw. And I think the sense of the proponent of that amendment was that we should, and I agree with that. So what I've done here is change the language by adding 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8 words that makes both changes. It allows the mother-in-law apartment to be used as a short-term rental, but it prohibits the case where separate building is constructed, the owner moves into that building, and then offers the main house as an STR. And I'll open it for discussion.
It pretty much addresses it.
Do you agree with the general idea, Conrad?
Yes, yeah, I was there for the town meeting. I mean, it's something we didn't envision at the time when the gentleman in the audience brought that up, which made a lot of sense at the time. I know we couldn't get an amendment on the floor at the time to fix it, but this seems to fix it. So I guess my question is, do we incorporate this table in the bylaw as shown?
No.
Or is it going to be a descriptive or a narrative?
Well, we'll provide a narrative. I think, Gordon, I'll look to you again. We often provide a narrative with proposals that we submit in text. And we could include this table in the narrative, but it would not be part of the formal article that's warned for the meeting. The part above all the stars would be the part that would be in the warrant.
But how do you describe it to the voters at the time? I mean, this chart illustrates it.
Yes, it does. Yeah.
So
Are you suggesting we should make the chart part of the bylaw?
that's what I'm wondering,
Oh,
just for clarity. I mean, have a narrative if you want, but this chart, I think it should be part of it. The CEO, I mean, you can look at this and understand it.
and how would we do that? Would we say as illustrated in the following chart or something like that?
Or exhibit, or, yeah,
You want
it's
to?
just a thought.
Yeah, no, I'm not against it. It's less efficient to include a chart, but it may be helpful to people, you know. I think that for me, the question is, if I were a non-expert, non-lawyer and non-zoning person reading the bylaw, what would I get? What would I need to understand what this says? And maybe the chart would be very helpful.
Yeah, I'm thinking. Again, just a thought.
Should we try to draft language that does that? And
instead of the chart or just?
No, you want both, right? You want,
I would think.
okay, so
Mike, what do you think? I mean,
take
I
the
like-
period, take it, go ahead, Peg.
No, I like simple. I'm not,
Is simple short or is simple with
no,
the table?
this, it's simple. You see it, you can figure it out very easily.
yeah, what do you think? I mean,
Shouldn't it stay consistent with how everything else is? So if it's just verbiage, we get verbiage. If we can use a chart, we can certainly insert an exhibit, and if it gets struck from whatever we put together, there'll at least be the description, so, you know, kind of lean toward you on that, Peter, because kind of have this, but I'll be honest with you, when you look at this, the dwellings with the attached or the detached structure, this is gonna be a big thing, because you folks see the sheds that are delivered to people's properties, these one single bedroom units are being constructed. And, you know, myself, I could probably have someone pour a pad and pull electrical out there and have, it placed right in my yard. And, you know, it's happening, it's a real thing.
So, there's a lot there. One thing is that if you're gonna have an ADU, you've got to get a special permit. So from this board. So there would be review of, you know, what are gonna be the sewer connections and,
Right. No, I get it, but this is these things
but-
are happening.
and we haven't, so far as I know, had any applications for ADU. No, there are no ADUs so far,
Not that I.
yeah. So if there are people, you know, putting tiny houses on pads with electrical and turning them into dwellings, they may be facing some enforcement actions.
So that's
in their
that's
immediate
okay.
future.
That's okay, but they exist and they're out there.
the clarity here is gonna be the main, if you had a duplex and they're attached, the main building, you can have an STR in the main building. On the other hand, if you're gonna have the ADU separate,
Yeah,
you're gonna convert the barn or the garage. And then you decide that I'm in the main house, I'm gonna move into the ADU.
yeah.
And now I'm thinking I wanna change the main house into a STR, that's prohibited.
That would be prohibited. Yes.
Yes,
So let's just put yours thing aside for a moment and we'll just see if we can get language to do what Conrad wants, right? So Conrad, while you were talking, I was writing, so I suggest in this, where it says 7. Short-term rentals, et cetera. Where it ends with short-term rental period. At the end of the text, I would change the period to a comma and say, as illustrated in the following table. And then strike the line of asterisk, strike the explanation and have the table be part of the bylaw proposal. Does that accomplish what you want?
I think so, yeah.
Peg, are you okay with that?
Yes, I'm fine.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get back to your thing now. What change, if any, would you like, Dan, to this?
To this,
Yeah,
nothing,
Okay.
just for it to be very of
Okay.
what we're trying to do. And I think, you know, if we're gonna have the exhibit in here, the illustration, I think that'll do it.
should we, thank you. Should we delete the current bylaw provision? If this is not an explanation of the change, but is an explanation of the new bylaw, should we delete the next to last column? It should say old bylaw, if anything, right? It's gonna be in the bylaw itself.
I don't have the existing bylaw in front of me.
You have
I don't have the existing bylaw in front of me.
Oh, no, but I mean, this, in this table.
Yeah.
When I wrote this, I'm thinking, this is a proposed bylaw change, right? So here's the current bylaw in this column, and here's the proposal in this column. But if this is gonna be part of the bylaw itself,
Excise the current bylaw column.
and excise the word proposed bylaw too, because it's not gonna be proposed, right? Okay. So the next to last column is out and proposed bylaw is out. And we'll leave everything else in the table.
Yep.
Okay. Everybody good?
Mhm.
Motion, please.
Go for it.
I'm the chair.
Oh,
I can make a motion, I guess, but it doesn't feel right.
Make a motion, we make revision to the article. It's gonna go before town meeting under 199-4.5 accessory dwelling units. That the language under C7 be amended as illustrated on the
As illustrated in the following table.
following table below. That we will excise the column where it reads current bylaw. And, adjust the table accordingly. And submit this for a warrant for the town meeting,
With a favorable report.
the favorable report.
Is there a second?
Sure. Yes. I would
Peg
second it.
seconds. Is there any further discussion? Not,
I'm sorry, the only thing I would question is, how are we doing for timing on this one? We have to have this ready for the
same timeline, right?
same timeline, right? Yep.
You ready to vote tonight?
I
You
think,
want to,
well, I think so.
yeah,
Aye.
Conrad,
Aye.
Peg,
Aye.
Peter, I, all in favor. You passed unanimously, with a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen. Come on back, Bob.
Oh, you okay? Good,
Gotcha.
thanks.
I'll get both of these to Brooke.
Great, great.
So,
We did the Form A, and he's been waiting so patiently.
I know,
That's you.
I know, my goodness.
So. Then, for a site plan, here's all your distances we were talking about.
yeah,
Okay.
plenty of distance.
I thought I saw some. Yeah, landscape issues or, here we are. What's that? Yeah,
Oh,
okay, go ahead. Any, so we have a site plan and then the, special permit. Because it's,
This permit's already been granted for the window.
yeah,
This is a minor site plan, please.
yeah,
No special.
no special permit with it, no.
Yeah, the last time, I think you guys just wanted to do this, so you make sure there was the distances. Setbacks.
And in this zone, we have to do a site plan.
Can you say anything for us about, landscaping?
I don't have a landscape plan other than what's there right now. If there's dimensions that we need to follow, we'll certainly follow them, but I know there's there right now, it's plantings. That's is required, we certainly can.
There's a provision that I didn't know about for a long time, but it's somewhere in our bylaw, it says that if you are in the UCBC zone and you have parking, you should have a landscaped buffer strip.
are they in that zone though, Peter?
I don't know, what's.
They're in DCBC.
It is in that zone here,
Huh, is it?
It's just.
199.86.
Oh. Downtown commercial.
So you've got there's a lot of grass on the West Center Street part, and there's an old dead tree trunk there. I don't think that qualifies as landscaping, but maybe there's something living there too. I'm less concerned about Canal Street, but I think it would be nice if there were some shrubs or something on the west, West Center Street side.
That's the front of the building.
Yeah, well, depending on, the front door is on Canal Street, but, I think, isn't it?
No,
No.
No, well,
The steps look
On
like
the
they're
side
pointing out
door.
to Canal Street.
yeah,
Anyway, I don't care, but maybe you could offer a couple of shrubs or something. Or
certainly we could do that.
I got my list.
Go ahead, Conrad.
First of all, is there a site plan application that's been submitted? Or is just the plan?
This is just the plan, yeah. It's amazing. I didn't know we need to, I thought I was just bringing this back for you guys to see the distances and.
Okay, this is a minor site plan.
right.
So under minor site plan, you have to have the existing conditions, which you have,
Yeah.
is a survey now, it's an as-built, of which they're now. The plan does have to have, it's gotta have a parking plan. It shows where the parking's gonna go. It should show the drive around window. It's usually a 12-foot queue lane that's on the back. They should be illustrated as a 12-foot lanes. We know there's not gonna be a midget board or a intercom, so that's understood. It looks like there's a dumpster down in this back corner. Is that gonna stay like that, or are you gonna change that?
Stay will. I haven't bought this building yet, so honestly, I don't know what's there, but we'll have to close dumpster pad.
Yeah, it would have to have an enclosed dumpster. Now, whether it's.
Okay,
One's there
enclosed.
now. Which, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
If it's gonna be something different or relocated, we'd have to know that. Now, this is all said and done, you're gonna have your special permit, you're gonna have a site plan approval. And you gotta go to the CEO building department and get a building permit.
Sure.
So he's gotta have an approved site plan from the planning board. So I mean, the parking should be laid out on how that's gonna work. The driveway should be laid out. You have a driveway here. There's about a 105-foot driveway. It's wide open in here. So the parking should be illustrated. The dumpster should be shown. Is there gonna be any freestanding signs proposed? Nope.
There's an existing sign there, so.
Yeah, it's kind of right here now.
Yeah.
And that's gonna be reused?
Yeah.
Yeah, so again, you have to check with the building inspector, but there's a size requirement for freestanding signs.
Yeah.
There's gonna be any building signs, we have to see what that looks like. I know in your rendering, it shows a domino sign.
So this is before, so typically when we go down, we go to the permitting department sign. We have to do this with you guys before and then do that.
We usually like to see it.
Yeah, it should be part of the site plan. But, along with the items he's mentioning, and that's the stage that we're at now with a site plan, and, even though it is a minor site plan, there's still some things we need, like the parking layout, and designated the handicap stuff, at which you're gonna, that's built. Any exterior lighting is gonna be one, we're gonna wanna see that.
Because there's no exterior lighting there now, it looks like. There's no.
I'm sure you're gonna put something in.
Stuff on the building.
Yeah, yeah.
So no site lighting, just like wall packs on
On
the.
the building.
Yeah.
I missed one. I thought I was just bringing that.
No, we're sorry.
Well, I just want to say,
Told last week. So.
you've done a great job of responding to what we asked for last time.
Yes.
But unfortunately, you ran into a new application for a new kind of thing with a separate list that we haven't talked to you about before.
That's under the DCD zone. If you have a street. There's a street, you gotta cut in on it. Effectively, there's supposed to be a landscape strip, usually 3 to 5 feet. Is that something the board wants to see?
Where's that in here?
It's way late.
Found it.
It's like in Article 13 or something.
It's 199, 8.8.
Oh, wrong.
Required minimum parking facility shall have an adequate all-weather service capable of allowing free and safe movement of all vehicles customarily used. The facility where an off-street parking facility is adjacent to a street line, there shall be a landscape strip between such street line and the balance of the lot, which strip shall not be less than 6 feet wide in the RA and RB districts and not less than 3 feet wide in all the other districts.
You familiar with the car hardware site? See how they're, you know? They got a strip out front, three or 4 or 5 foot strip, you know, just. There's like a curb in between, keep the parking separate from strip and then I don't know if there's a curb on the sidewalk side, but. They put some mulch down and they put some shrubs in there. Now, are we gonna ask for that on Canal Street?
Well, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah,
Under if this particular zone, I mean, there are requirements for that. It might be the type of thing where you have a 24, 25 foot cut here, 24, 25 foot cut there. Maybe a 5 foot landscape strip from here. There's 72 feet from here to here. You put the 5 foot strip in here, you can get parking here, 26, 27 foot aisle, and another little parking here. The other thing is with this size building, there are parking requirements on a parking ratio. For this size building, how many parking spaces are you gonna need? How many landscape spots, or not landscape? how many,
DCBC, I don't,
Hmm?
it's in DCBC that they get to have common parking.
Correct, but in this
Yeah.
case, he's not gonna have common parking, he's gonna be all on his own lot. Cool.
I don't think we count.
if he can rely on common parking. There's no real meaningful requirement for on-site parking then, right? It could be 0.
Oh,
Suppose it might be a way of, maybe.
I don't know.
yeah, 20% reduction,
Oh,
required parking spaces allowed. No parking will be allowed in the front yard setback of the structure.
He's obviously gonna have enough room for parking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, he'll have plenty of parking.
Which is building, maybe not even 1,500 square feet? 1,600 feet? Yeah, plenty of room for parking.
Yeah.
There's plenty of room for circulation for the
Mhm.
drive up on the window.
How are you gonna control that queue? I'm just curious. There's would be no queue, just.
There's
You,
never more than 2 people in line.
okay,
It's,
Okay.
like we talked about before, it's not like you're waiting for not like you're ordering and waiting.
yeah,
You'll come in when you're ordering, food's already ready.
ready.
You know, maybe 10 people come same time, but they'll be cleared in a minute.
because everything's ready when they drive up.
Should be.
Right.
Should be. Okay,
You know, all you would have is 12-foot like lane right here, just to illustrate.
so let's,
what it would be.
let's give him a
Yes.
section to look at in our zoning.
I'm just gonna hire an engineer.
Uh,
Not my forte.
But he doesn't have to do, when he looks at our bylaw, this is gonna be a minor site plan, not the major. The major would be traffic studies, all that, so don't get scared when you see all that. Okay,
It looks like a lot, but could be a lot worse.
it's not bad.
That was a building and that was.
Yes. Okay,
Do you
All
want a
right.
motion to continue it or you
I,
want?
I think we can just send him on his way and he'll come, we'll get you on as soon as you can get back in here.
Yeah.
We'll, you know. And I get your signage, accurate, so we're not approved, like, we already said that roof sign's not gonna work, so let's get the signage on there. Okay?
You can actually have 2 wall signs, because you know.
You can, he's on a corner.
You have one on the front, you have one on the side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's gotta be below.
Which is hard for him because he's got a low leaf.
It is,
Yeah.
it is.
This is gonna work out well. I mean,
Yeah.
This is, gonna start to have.
It's gonna be, yeah, we're,
We can have 2 wall signs.
yeah. I mean, we just have to get the Ts crossed and the Is dotted, okay?
If I'd known, I would.
It's no prejudice, we're good.
You did what we asked.
Sorry, we did what you asked for another issue, but now we got a
Yeah.
new one for you. Did Stockbridge Road. CPA we did, master plan.
Okay,
Glad you're here. Don't go anywhere.
I was just about to leave.
No, you're not going anywhere.
so,
Split zone.
Oh, gosh.
Do that first.
Ah,
You want to get Gordon out of here?
Let's get Gordon out of here, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
No, make him wait. We,
I don't, you can't make me wait.
oh, really?
You just get up and leave.
But you won't, if you know that, okay.
Better offer, by the way, so, yeah.
Is there a Manhattan waiting for you?
It could be something waiting somewhere, I don't know what it is, but,
Okay.
yeah.
So anyway, split zones, I think where we're leaning towards, folks, is the front setback on the RB district seem to be excessive.
From 75 feet down to say
Yeah,
35 or
So we're
40 feet.
thinking of trimming that back, which would give most split zones are in the RB district that we're having issues with.
And 40 feet is, except for that one zone, 40 feet is the maximum
Standard.
setback for any other zone.
So, and then we're trying to come up with a number or a percentage to go into the second zone, the back part of the zone. I mean, we've heard 100 feet. I mean, do we mess with percentages?
No, your 50-foot proposal was perfect.
50 foot?
That's
Oh.
that was what I.
I drafted a 50-foot proposal and I don't know why it's
I
not.
thought it was great.
I was being conservative and hoping that we would have less opposition in town.
I think we will have way less opposition. Keep trying to go all
There was
the way.
one opposition at last town meeting,
Yeah. but
or I think it would have,
Right.
or at that front table, it sways an awful lot.
that's right.
I think 50 is the perfect number.
Ah,
Can we negotiate to 75?
And I don't see,
Do I-
what's the big deal if you go and look at all the zones, I'm not just saying RB and 102. You got RB going up to Lennox, RB going up to East Lee.
yes,
You've got split zone going up High Street.
Yep.
You've got split I zones all over town up the other end near the UDF. But if you look at 100 feet, that's a lot of interference in
Even-
residential property.
even with,
50 feet, I don't think so.
even with the, special permit requirement.
My personal belief is all I'm saying. I think 100 is problematic for the residential areas in most of the town. Not everywhere, but I think most of the towns that's problematic to go another one.
But then there's a few places where we do have it going the other way, like Fairview Street, we have it going residential to industrial, some zones,
So then the residential can bump their distance back.
50 feet.
I'd have to look at that zone to
Hmm.
see what is the industrial issue that you're interfering with. Could be that it doesn't matter, and that's another thing that town should look at is maybe along Fairview Street, there shouldn't be a 200 foot setback, maybe there should be a 300 foot setback. You know, I think that's different, than having to go through a special permit for. Because we're not getting anywhere in this street, I don't care what you're. butting.
No, we're not. No,
You know, the only thing I can think of is maybe you're butting against Lee Marble, or
it is against the
Leland.
the south end of Lee Line property.
Yeah.
There's quite a few properties that are residential and they go into that industrial part. So. And so let's see, if we do just the 102 corridor to 50 feet and then all the rest can be under special permit?
Well, I don't think it should be, any of it should be by right, I think all of it should be a special permit issue.
Even the 50 feet?
Just explain what's going on, so the neighbors have a
What?
chance to
Right.
give input. Cause if you say it could be 100 feet, nobody's gonna wanna settle for 50 or 75, I'll guarantee you. They're all gonna push to 100, and to me, I know what 300 feet from 102 looks like compared to 200 feet. And, you'd be interfering, especially the bowling alley lot, the veterinary lot, all that whole strip through there, the motel. 100 feet going into that hillside with Highfield above it, that's a major problem. 50 feet, I think you could, I've talked to other people, this is just. The 50 feet down that strip, I think is still gonna be palatable to people up on Highfield Drive. As far as, business interference. I know you already have some that are questionable whether they're legal or not, I'm not gonna go there. I'm just saying that, you know,
So,
50 feet may not make everybody happy in town that owns a business, but I think I'm more also trying to look at the residential interference issue. That's all. Haven't been interfered with on
And your-
many fronts.
the setback, the rear setback would be included in there, right? Or not,
You know,
or it would just be structure?
um,
How would
it's
that work?
Allowed use. Now, there's a lot of things that are allowed in setback. Accessory buildings
Yeah,
can be within 10 feet.
so what is,
So now you've added 50 feet, now you're 250 feet back and you can have a major accessory building to a main building. And it can be within 10 feet of the residential district. And yet used for traffic, trucks in and out, you know, deliveries. I just think that you should be cautious about extending much beyond that. Unless there's towns around that have a really good model, which I don't know of any right this minute, I know there are some.
just lost it.
I don't know. So, I think one of the biggest things you just help with would be to move that front setback to a structure, reduce it to 40 feet. Now you can have parking in the back, you know, you can have the front looking better and it's closer to the road. I think that frees up more usable business property than worrying about an extra 100 feet in the back versus 50 feet.
We're still trying to get somewhat a reasonable building footprint on this thing. So like I say, 75 feet down to 40 feet, that helps.
That's a huge amount,
If we get
35
the-
feet.
If you get to 50 feet in the back or 75 or 100, whatever it is. I mean, they're just,
I'm just thinking for more flexibility.
So, you know what, it's your board that's gonna make this call. We'll discuss it at town meeting.
I think we already have discussed it at town meeting, and my sense of town meeting was that we were there saying, give us a chance to make it all industrial. Trust us, it'll always be a special permit. You can always trust the planning board. And I think my sense of the public was, yeah, maybe now, maybe we don't want to trust you that much.
Nothing against
No.
this board at all. but
No, I know.
Historically.
I didn't take
there
it
are
personally.
issues. Yeah, I know,
I
you
just
should,
think
you should. Yeah.
People, I think, were very cautious about allowing any board to make that big a jump in the zoning regulations without some sort of town meeting review. And so I think actually 50 feet is, when combined with the 35 feet in front, it's 85 feet of improvement for a potential
Sure.
development of a commercial enterprise that we couldn't have today. And I think that's a big step in the right direction, so.
And there is no setback for parking. In most of, you're gonna have your parking right to your boundary.
Right.
Except for that landscaping strip.
In
In
the
the
back,
front.
and on the
Oh.
sides, back and.
Oh,
Back
oh,
it,
oh.
back it.
Don't worry about it.
No
And
landscape.
if you reduce the front to whatever, 35, 40 feet, whatever you decided, 5 foot strip.
Do we have the ADU in here or do we have the split zone? We don't.
No, I don't know.
We don't currently have a split zone.
No, but I was looking for our
The text.
proposal, the text.
Well, the one I read, I thought wasn't objectionable at all.
I sent him a copy.
Yeah, was, so he has a new one with,
I think I sent it,
50
I
feet?
think I just sent it to Brooke and Gordon.
We got one that says 50 feet in the back, shortening up the front side set, I think that's more than reasonable. Allows a lot of flexibility in any of these zones. Going out to East Lee, going up, you know, most of those are already so populated that nobody's gonna really do much with those anyway, unless they tear the house down.
do we want to try to get this on?
I do.
No, we need a,
Is this-
we need a hearing.
You know,
Oh.
As opposed to hearing
Oh.
in 2 weeks.
We need 2 weeks.
Oh, right.
No,
Yeah.
It's too late for this shit.
too late for this
Well-
meeting.
You'd have to get it done before we post the warrant.
Yeah,
If you can have your approval, your recommendation to the town meeting, the morning of the town meeting. That part's not restricted, it's the hearing date restricted, so that we can post it. At least 5 days ahead of time.
We have to have the hearing first, and then following that is the warrant vote by the selectmen.
We can do a placeholder, but before we actually, like, if we post the warrant on the second, or if we vote on the warrant on the second, we need a placeholder. But 5 days before the meeting, minimum, which I'm gonna recommend we do 7 days just to cover ourselves. Cause I forget about weekends, and you can't.
You know, so at least 7 days ahead of time, we need final language, because
You would-
it has to be posted.
You would do it, you would put it on the warrant without final language?
We would, you know, we would put a placeholder, because we don't post the warrant
Oh,
until a week ahead of time.
okay.
We can vote on having a warrant, and most of the articles will be defined. But if we need some flexibility on one or two, and we've done this many times, is we do a placeholder. And then, we make sure that, if you don't get it done in time, we just will withdraw, you know.
So
So we need actual language, but.
Gordon, if we did a public hearing on the 22nd, that would give us, and we submitted it for the following, then it'll give us 1, 2, 3. That'd give us 7 days till town meeting.
Not even close, but we have to, you know, we're gonna post, I think what might be advisable is. We'll double check with the town administrator on what date you think we are actually, I saw a rough draft, so I know it's there, we've already got a date of when we need to post it.
Is he gonna post it before the 22nd?
We won't be posting a final written warrant, I don't think, by then, we're gonna certainly. Approve a lot of it as final plus some placeholders, if you want us to have a placeholder.
We try
It
it,
sounds like only this is the placeholder, you've already voted on the others, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is the only thing, so if you just have this as the last issue, you don't make it on time. So in a way,
Yes.
could we do a special meeting on the 15th in between? Just a short
we just
meeting?
need 2 weeks to post now. You can have. it-
Yeah, we
Place
could
the
do that.
25th.
Let's do that. Anybody mind doing that?
One extra
we could-
meeting next month, middle of the month on the 15th?
Make sure you have enough time to get it,
Sure.
paper and get it, well, you can get it.
We have an efficient land use, very,
Oh, I know you do,
it's very
you're
efficient.
not gonna be here forever.
Takes about 3 days.
She's not, we're working on that.
Okay, that'd be great.
Lots of
Good luck with
snow,
that.
landslides, grizzly bears, you know, we're sending it all.
Yeah,
What do you think?
Good luck.
You okay, Dan?
Tax day?
Tax day should all be done by then.
What,
I
16?
should be around, I guess.
We're- I really think it'll be, we'll have it on the warrant for 6 o'clock,
and then
And-
just that.
and that will be the only thing,
Short meeting.
short meeting.
We already got the language pretty much drafted.
We got it, yeah. Okay, so public hearing for the 15th, Brooke?
Yep.
Okay, split zones. And Peter, you have a draft you could send her, so we could get that.
I already did.
Yep,
I received it.
yeah,
You didn't receive it? Oh.
Everything I received, I put in the agenda,
Oh.
and I sent that
I
out.
had COVID like 6 times.
Yeah, still suffering.
You know, it's.
I may be experiencing it right now.
here it is.
Fun evening, gentlemen.
Yes,
We're
on
gonna take off.
March, thank you very
Thank
much.
you very much.
March
Matt,
16th.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thanks, yeah.
Thank you, guys. Yes, it was part of the marijuana bylaw email.
Same email, separate attachment.
Yep. On the 16th.
Yeah, Brooke, I think you may have just overlooked an attachment.
I can check again, I printed out all these questions.
That doesn't matter, but you've got it. If you,
I'll check, let me make sure.
I'll send it to you. I'll send it to you again right now.
I'd appreciate that.
You went with the 35-foot or the 40-foot?
I think it was 40.
What do you have to set that?
I used the next smaller number from the table, which I think is 40.
Sorry, you know, it says I don't have permission to view, that's the problem,
Oh,
so it got error.
so do you need,
If you could resend it to me,
Okay.
it should work. Sometimes I have issues with your email, here, there's something these two as well.
All set?
Did you want to do,
Oh,
master plan?
yeah, sure.
We're getting close on that.
Okay, so yeah, we have, we're approaching the April sixth big party up at the high school, Saturday afternoon at 1 o'clock. Hopefully another large turnout like we had last February, on the draft plan, which is in color on the website, thanks to Brooke. And, copies of which are available at town hall and at the library, again, thanks to Brooke. And, I don't know, do you know if anybody's picked up any?
You know, between Thursday and Friday, 9 were picked up in town hall.
9 were picked up.
Replenishment
See,
today.
it's gonna be a very popular meeting.
Yes.
So,
I picked mine up.
okay.
I
And,
tell you, then if anybody wasn't at that February meeting, it was really impressive. I was so impressed with
Yeah.
the people
Yeah,
that
that was a
that
great meeting.
weren't, you know, there's certain ones you expected to be there.
Right, I
you know,
agree.
You know who was, but then there was all these other people that they were a lot, or were all
we didn't
transplants.
know.
and we didn't know and
Yeah.
didn't even know what they did.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
And we've gotten a couple of comments already. There were a couple of minor things in the education section that the superintendent pointed out to need to be corrected. Kathy DeVerens from the chamber has sent a blast around to her members, asking them to come. I asked her to do that. I'm gonna try to figure out how to reach the CDC people. I can't remember how to do that. Maybe somebody can help me with that, just to send them an invitation. I've talked it up to a couple of teachers I know, asking them to talk with the faculty up at the school about, you know, what's in the, especially the education part of it. I told this one teacher yesterday that we had a member on the committee from the school board who resigned early, and we still have several retired teachers, but we have no official representative of the school board. And the superintendent's participation has been, he's answered all the questions we've sent, and he came by Zoom once, but he's not been keeping close track of it. So I'm really hoping that the somewhat controversial on my committee provisions in the education section will generate a lot of careful reading and thought and comment at that meeting. So here's hoping we have a great event.
Mm. So how long do you think the meeting will be? Peter, do you have an idea?
I'm hoping for an hour and a half.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was just curious. Thank you.
We're not gonna do groups.
You're
the way
not
we
doing,
did.
okay.
It's gonna be. I'm gonna do a brief thing. I'm gonna introduce the members.
Mhm.
They're gonna make possibly statements of a minute or two. And then the staff guy from the Regional Planning
Right.
Commission is gonna give a review of what's in there, probably about 15 minutes, I hope.
Yeah,
And then just 2 microphones like a town meeting,
oh, okay.
and until we run out of comments.
Oh, good.
CJ, yeah, CJ's done a great job. He's a very tactful, patient man. You agree, Kathy?
Yes, absolutely.
I like,
Okay, that's my report.
Great.
good.
I know, pretty. I think Josh Bloom would put this on the,
Oh, yeah, he might like
he
that.
put that on,
Yeah,
right?
he would.
Yeah, Sean Redier is a member of the committee, and he's been working on the social media angle.
Great, okay,
Oh,
perfect.
And
He'll reach out.
yeah, I think he's working on that.
Good.
Anybody wants that? Want it.
I've been posting flyers around, you know, the barber shop and that kind of thing.
Good.
But if you want to talk to people that you meet from town and say, you know, that there's a, 10-year, 15-year planning horizon document being considered. And the people who wrote it want to hear your thoughts before they finalize it. So.
Yeah, they should. It'd be good if they could.
Very good. All right, one more motion.
To adjourn.
Second.
Second, so moved, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.